So let's talk about the nursing. When did it click to you that nursing was your route, or did you have anything else that you were thinking?
So I from young, I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. And for me, I got to high school and I just was like, man, I don't know if I could keep going to school. I just had senioritis or whatever you call it before I became a senior. And I had a cousin who said, you know what, you should look into nursing. So based on the financial aid really is how that dictated. I was either going to stay in New York, go to St. John's, which offered good aid, or University of Tampa, which was pre-nursing. And they offered good aid as well. And I just said, man, it's time for me to leave home and kind of get...
Hey, I'm back. You know who it is. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is your community facilitator, a.k.a. culture enthusiast, a.k.a. the radical Rowdy Rodney, a.k.a. I'm going to be able to add to the a.k.a. here next week. I got a little bit too much a.k.a. happy going on. This is a lively art of conversation, if you don't know, where we practice our story, where we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass it along. I got another exciting episode for you. And guess what? You know what it is. It's all about men's health. That's right. Father's Day is coming up. June is the Men's Health Month. And guess what? The best gift you can give your father is a routine maintenance preventive checkup. That's what he needs. That's the gift. Encourage your father to go to the doctor to be seen. It's very important. We all love our fathers, and they are the bedrock foundations of our home, but also those foundations get cracks, and we need to ensure that our fathers are taken care of. This is a lively art of conversation, and thank you guys for tuning in once again. And like I do with all of my shows, I got to give a special thank you to my underwriters. Without my underwriters, this show would not exist. So at this moment, let's take a brief pause to meet our underwriters.
This is Lavina Sabri with So Natural Catering and Bomb A Lemonade, and you're listening to The Lively Art of Conversation.
Hello. This is Rodney Duckett with the Lively Art of Conversation. As we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass that wisdom along. Join us every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. as we bring to you our story. You bring your story, we give you our story, and our story is how we engage in our community. Everybody has a story, and we're waiting to hear your story. So if you're interested, reach out to us at livelyartofconversation@gmail.com.
Looking to elevate your brand or capture unforgettable moments? New Image Media offers top-tier videography, photography, personal branding, and more. They combine creativity and quality with fair pricing and friendly service so you get the results you want. Whether it's a business promo or special occasion, they bring your vision to life with quality you can trust. Choose New Image Media, where your image is everything. For more info, email media@newimagemiallc.com. Words have power. They connect, heal, and inspire. That's the mission at Better Watch Your Tone, LLC, founded by Toni B. Shelton. She's empowering through powerful poetry and prose, with hundreds impacted through speaking events, workshops, and 8 self-published books. Ready to honor the story within? Discover books and coaching at betterwatchyourtone.com. For event poetry or book writing support, email ToniShelton@gmail.com. Let's use our words to uplift. Better watch your tone. You've built a life worth celebrating. Now it's time to be seen. At Las Foto de Lance Photography, they don't just take portraits, they capture the fire in your spirit and the power in your presence. Whether you're reclaiming your confidence, owning your story, or stepping into a new chapter, Las Foto de Lance Photography creates luxury images that reflect the real you. Visit lasfotodelance.net or drop by their Harker Heights studio. Las Foto de Lance Photography, unapologetically you, immortalized.
Hello, this is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the Heritage Legacy Curators. You're looking for something for your kids to do this summer? Well, reach out to me at Impact Outreach, IMPAC Outreach at gmail.com, because Heritage Legacy Curators is all about collecting oral history. So if you have stories that you would love to pass down to your kids, or if you have a project that maybe your kids need to do as it relates to oral history, bring those family albums out and we'll sit there and we'll sort through those family albums. So that way we can collect those stories and keep those stories within the family. So that way they can be the next speakers to curate your family reunion. All right, we're back with the lively art of conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass it along. Hey, this is a great show that we have for you today, but like I do with anything else with my shows, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Rodney Duckett. I'm a transplant to this area by way of Black Wall Street, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I spent about 12 years in the military, and I made Central Texas my home. And right now, everybody's asking me, hey, Rod, why don't you do a show? Why don't you get your book out? Well, hey, I'm doing it right now. This is a radio show and podcast for the lively art of conversation, because I'm a conversationalist. Everybody knows that. If we run into each other in the grocery store, there's a couple things going to happen. You're going to have melted butter in your hand, and you're going to have fried bologna, because we talk for that long. I mean, and the conversations get heated. So for you guys that know me, I'm a conversationalist. And I really enjoy it. What we do every week is we start off with a word. So go to your journals right now. I know most of you guys that follow me know that I'm all about journals, okay? And the word for the week is proactivity, to be proactive. The word is proactive. And this week, we're going to take charge of men's health. That's right. I started off by saying make sure your father, your brother, your husband, your uncle, and everybody get their selves checked out. Now, check this quote out. Take care of your body, and it's the only place that you have to live. So take care of your body. Keep in mind, it's the only place that you have to live. And that's for fathers that's out there. Don't pay too much attention to that Corvette and that Cadillac and that beautiful truck you got. Sometimes we got to take attention to what's happening going on the inside of us. So the importance is taking care of the responsibility of our health, and also our bodies are the most valuable asset that we will ever have. So we have to be proactive with maintaining our own well-being. If you are a man, it is crucial for men, because we deal with a lot of stress out there, and many times we neglect ourselves to sacrifice ourselves for our children, our wives, our jobs, our coaching events that we do with the kids. But a lot of times we should not be doing that. We should be listening to those warning signs for us. So let's go ahead and do this. I got a wonderful guest here today. He is my colleague. And I say my colleague, well, actually, he's my superior, because he holds an executive seat. So let me go ahead and switch that around. He's my superior. For you guys don't know, I'm a member of DMPs of Color. It is a beautiful, beautiful program that's started by Dr. McCamey. And this is where I met this brother at, Dr. Michael Williams, which is our guest. He holds a doctorate of nursing practice out of Baylor. He's a family nurse practitioner. He's by way of Brooklyn. He made sure I got that right, because I don't want to offend nobody. You know, when you say the wrong thing, I said Staten Island. He's like, no, Brooklyn. You know, I'm from Brooklyn. So he's by way of Brooklyn, and he works in the healthcare industry, and he's our guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give it up to our next guest, Dr. Michael Williams.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I got to hit the air horn, because, you know, we always got to shout out Brooklyn. That's how we always start. If you know a New Yorker, you know they go, Texas rep just as hard as Brooklyn, so I don't want to hear it. I don't want nobody from Texas judging me. I don't want them saying anything. Listen, I'm a transplant Texan. I'm proud Brooklyn Texonian, and whatever you call it. I'm making up words at this point. But I thank you, my brother, for having me on this show. You know, anytime you reach out, man, I just love the work you do.
Man. And I love you, because you've always supported what I've done. I think I met you like 3 years ago, and since then I said we got to connect and we got to do things in Texas. I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. McCamey. I know you probably might listen to this a few weeks down the line because you're so busy, but because of the interconnectedness of what you do is me and Michael is your extended disciples in this area, and we're working together to represent DNPs of color and also spread that message. So shout out to you and everything that you're doing, which is phenomenal work.
You know, if I may say so, I actually was we were on a student panel this morning. So we actually got some graduating and junior undergraduate collegiate students, nursing students, and we had a chance to share the importance of networking, and you know, just building you. And she's us getting together, man, is just a beautiful manifestation of what she had. Like, you know, it's just the embodiment of it. So this is awesome. I always got a shout out, like you shout out. I got a shout out to Dr. McCamey. It's nothing short of, I guess, a innovator, a revolutionary, just a pivotal person, I think, in this moment of nursing and of just everyday life and society right now, man. I think her work, we don't see the impact right now because we living through it, but I think, you know, by the time we got grades, or we already got grades, but by the time, you know, we in the nursing home talking about back in my days and all this other stuff, man, we gonna be set, you know, be the oral historians to share that story, being from the ground level up with us. So
yeah, definitely. And shout out to all the executive body. Dwayne is doing phenomenal work. Dr. Dwayne out there doing his thing, man. You guys are doing great work. Hey, man, for people that don't know Dr. Michael Williams, tell them about your journey, man. Tell them this phenomenal specimen of a man that I have sitting right to the right of me. You know, talk about you, man.
Thank you. You know, I can't start, or I'd be remiss to start, or wouldn't be remiss to start with first saying I have to shout out my mom, my dad. I'm first generation American, right? My family's from Panama, so if you know Panamanians, you know how we get down to clean, got a bunch. So,
good food.
Yeah. So I want to say, you know, I inherited that spirit of being an explorer, right? Because, you know, when you're first generation, you don't really know what you're walking into. When you come to a new land, but you know your hopes is something better. So I feel like I'm a representation of the work that they put in and the sacrifice to get here. And then just being from Brooklyn, you know, you got that hustler spirit, but then you also, in the words of Christopher Wallace, and if you don't know who that is, it's Biggie, you know, spread love. That's the Brooklyn way. So for me, it's more so like anything that I do has to come derived from that place. So with that being said, you know, I'm first generation American, first generation college student. So I didn't really have this path carved out for me. But I had parents who from a long time ago taught me the value of believing in yourself, of love, and going, you know, once you get there, you get there. So I went to a predominantly white institution at the University of Tampa, which I think culturally from home to that was night and day. I tell people I didn't learn English until my sophomore year of college, just because when you in your community, you don't really need English. You don't really need a lot of the mainstream things that America has to thrive and to grow, because you have your communities and your network there. So I first had to learn how to speak English, which is standardized testing, in order to even get that first degree. And I mean, if you want to talk about trauma and hurdles, that's in its own breath. But I would say this. I had a faculty advisor who said, you're not the problem, right? It's that you just don't speak the language which is taught here. And you master that, then you'll be able to flourish. And I have to shout out, because the important piece is she was a white woman from New York, so she understood that. And that opened up my whole vision. So, you know, I did my bachelor's. I worked in trauma ICU, med surg, for about 8.5 years at the RN level. Got my nurse practitioner, and I've been nurse practitioner for about 7 years. I first worked in internal medicine at a FQHC. So that's a population or a center that focuses on underserved and everybody. So internal medicine there, so primary care. Then when I moved to Texas, I did HIV prevention, HIV care with a nonprofit in Austin. Now I do wellness exams, and then I also teach for A&M as a clinical visiting assistant professor. So that's kind of my journey. You know, it ain't come without sacrifice and blood, sweat, and tears, but I wouldn't trade none of it for the world, because the same things that made me uncomfortable are the same things that actually benefited me. You know, being in this space and us talking, I already know the language. So
yes,
you know, these are hidden gems and hidden spaces that don't get enough of us in them. So I think, you know, it's been a beautiful journey.
So let's talk about the nursing. When did it click to you that nursing was your route, or did you have anything else that you were thinking?
So I from young, I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. And for me, I got to high school and I just was like, man, I don't know if I could keep going to school. I just had senioritis or whatever you call it before I became a senior. And I had a cousin who said, you know what, you should look into nursing. So based on the financial aid really is how that dictated. I was either going to stay in New York, go to St. John's, which offered good aid, or University of Tampa, which was pre-nursing. And they offered good aid as well. And I just said, man, it's time for me to leave home and kind of get to it. So I've always had that spirit of wanting to help others. And once I found out nursing was an avenue for that, because as you're young, you only know lawyer, doctor, firefighter, police, like only 5 professions exist when you're in school,
exactly.
grade school. Yeah. So you learn more about healthcare, and nursing was just that avenue, man. And I could say it's been, my cousin telling me about nursing was probably the best thing, one of the best things I could have got, because it was definitely an avenue that I could carve my own lane, be who I am, so not lose me as a person from growing up to now. So I guess that's kind of my journey there.
Yeah. So talk about the transition. So we know we started at the entry level, which is a registered nurse.
Right.
So what was that spark that says, I need to go up and chase this terminal degree?
So, yeah. So, you know, for those who don't know, the entry level of nursing is a few different avenues. People know the term LPN. People usually know the term RN. And you know, you could do a 4-year or 2-year traditional schooling, depending on what degree you're looking for. So I came in as an RN. So I went to a traditional 4-year bachelor's of science school. And really what changed my mind, or what sent me back to school, because I honestly struggled so much that I thought I would never go back and get 2 more degrees, just because of how hard school was. But I would say this, once I got into practice, I was working in the hospital, again, trauma ICU. I was med surgical for a few years. One thing, the gift and the curse about a hospital is that it has everything you need to take care of somebody, but then it's also kind of puts you away from the community, because it's not I don't say it's not a real world, but because of the standards of practice, having everything, you know, kind of set up this environment, you miss some of that uniqueness that you have when you're engaging with the community on like a community and real level. And I was just kind of hungry for that. And I also at the time didn't realize I like to learn. I'm a learner. You know, so I just was hungry for learning, because I was getting certifications. You know, I was doing charge nurse, and something inside me just kept going, what else is out there? What else is out there? And if you work in the community as a nurse practitioner, you may find other things, in which I did, because, you know, when people come into the clinic at a primary care level, they come in, when you set it up right, they come in very authentic. They come in very true. So if they having a bad day, they could sit down on that chair and be like, yo, I'm having a bad day, right? And then I could come in and be like, you know what, I'm having a bad day too. We gonna both sit here and cry, complain, but your diabetes got to get taken care of. So what you doing with your medicine?
Yes.
And, you know, that's how I got to the nurse practitioner level. And then the doctorate, it was the same thing. I kind of had that itch again where I said, you know, I want to learn. I need to learn and I need to grow. So I had all this clinical practice, and I was kind of looking to see what else is there that nursing has to offer. And Baylor University sent me a message for the DNP program. And I must say that was also kind of a blessing in disguise, because rather than we focus on clinical approaches, it gave me the environment I need to now step into some of those executive roles. So DNP's a color. I'm also on the board of a local clinic in Austin called Black Men's Health Clinic. And, you know, when you're young, you don't be like, boards, all these terms and all these words are so foreign to you.
Yeah.
But now that I'm here, it's like, oh, you always could have done this. You always could do this. And I tell people all the time, like, I ain't different than nobody else from where I come from, right? It just so happened that I had a few things set right, and I had a mom who didn't compromise on anything. She didn't compromise. She didn't cut any bit of slack for me to get to where I'm at now. So I just think the hunger to learn has driven me to continue on.
Yeah, you know, and here's and I'm gonna let you do this because I do this a lot. So I do this a lot. Explain to our audience, what is the difference between an FNP, family nurse practitioner, and a doctorate of nurse practice? A lot of times those names are interchangeable and it gets confused. So I want to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So, you know, the nurse practitioner level, right? You can come in at a master's level, and there are various tracks. It could be midwifery. It could be FNP, which is what I am, family nurse practitioner. It could be pediatrics, mental health. So for the most part, for most instances, all you would need is your master's level degree. Now, when we talk about the doctorate, from my perspective, what I think the doctorate of nursing practice brings is individuals who have operated in a system and say, I want to now try to influence the system in a different way. So that's a doctorate level. So of course you have to have your bachelor's, you have to have your master's, and then, or you could be RN2 DNP, which would be you have your 4-year or your traditional degree, bachelor's, and then you go master's and then doctorate. But the biggest difference for me is that the doctorate level is looking more at systems, and at the master's level, you come in more focused on the clinical practice component. I think you need both to exist, and also to kind of further your conversation, because the other thing is a lot of people think the DNP is like the PhD. Mm-hmm. So I tell people the biggest difference is, while you'll say a PhD is searching new knowledge and the DNP is trying to impact the systems that we have and how to improve on that. But honestly, they also find new things because there's so many gaps in this healthcare system. What I say is the DNP, they want to be boots to the ground. They still want to be in the mix of clinical practice, community stuff. And a PhD may be more people who are looking to be more research focused, more paper, more of that in the lab, so to speak, kind of side of things. So you got people who just lend to want to be in the community, and others who kind of like, I want to lock in, be in the lab. So that's how I look at it, and I try to tell individuals about the difference in them. So, all
right. This is Rodney Duggan. You're watching The Lively Art of Conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass it along. And right now, I'm going to pass it along to some of our underwriters in these commercials.
Words have power. They connect, heal, and inspire. That's the mission at Better Watch Your Tone, LLC, founded by Toni B. Shelton. She's empowering through powerful poetry and prose, with hundreds impacted through speaking events, workshops, and 8 self-published books. Ready to honor the story within? Discover books and coaching at betterwatchyourtone.com. For event poetry or book writing support, email TonyShelton@gmail.com. Let's use our words to uplift. Better watch your tone. You've built a life worth celebrating. Now it's time to be seen. At Las Foto de Lance Photography, they don't just take portraits, they capture the fire in your spirit and the power in your presence. Whether you're reclaiming your confidence, owning your story, or stepping into a new chapter, Las Foto de Lance Photography creates luxury images that reflect the real you. Visit lasfotodelance.net or drop by their Harker Heights studio. Las Foto de Lance Photography, unapologetically you, immortalized. Looking to elevate your brand or capture unforgettable moments? New Image Media offers top-tier videography, photography, personal branding, and more. They combine creativity and quality with fair pricing and friendly service so you get the results you want. Whether it's a business promo or special occasion, they bring your vision to life with quality you can trust. Choose New Image Media, where your image is everything. For more info, email media@newimagemiallc.com.
This is Dr. Rodney Duckett with the Heritage Legacy Curators. You're looking for something for your kids to do this summer? Well, reach out to me at Impact Outreach, IMPAC outreach@gmail.com, because Heritage Legacy Curators is all about collecting oral history. So if you have stories that you would love to pass down to your kids, or if you have a project that maybe your kids need to do as it relates to oral history, bring those family albums out and we'll sit there and we'll sort through those family albums, so that way we can collect those stories and keep those stories within the family, so that way they can be the next speakers to curate your family reunion. All right, we're back with the lively art of conversation, where we live, we learn, we earn, we pass along. If you are interested in being an underwriter or interested in having a commercial, please reach out to me at livelyartofconversation@gmail.com. That's right, livelyartofconversation@gmail.com. And guess what? I got my man back here, Dr. Michael Williams. He just ran it back for us, and he told us how he became a nurse, but also the difference between the F&P and DNP. And right now we're going to move this along, because I want to hear a little bit of his journey of what he has earned along the way and learned. So tell me some things, how you have grown in the field of nursing, and then any type of accolades that you have received along the way.
Oh, man, now you put me on the spot. So, I mean, what I've learned, man, it's a
broad question.
I know it's such a broad question, because you learn so much.
Yes.
I think at the undergraduate level, I'll break it down from each phase. I think at the undergraduate level, so that's again that 4-year initial college experience. I had 5 years, so not everybody graduated in 4, y'all. So if y'all smart, Go ahead. Don't mind me. I did 5 years.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But I think at the undergraduate level, because I was also joined the frat, Phi Beta Sigma. So shout out to my Sigmas out there, Blue Phi. What undergrad taught me was a few things, right? It taught me really, again, you have to learn. It's not, most of the times, culture, right, how we talk and things aren't necessarily the same thing as intelligence.
Yes.
So because I was so different, I struggled a lot with school. And if you're not careful, you're going to think you are the reason for your inability to succeed, when in fact it's just you just don't understand the culture that academic is, or you don't understand mainstream America. So my biggest lesson was, you got to learn. You have to learn what that is. As a first generation American, I still was pretty tied into my culture. So there was some nuances that I missed. So I learned that. At the master's level, I think the biggest thing I learned from that is the fact that being intentional about what you want to do, which is, a lot of people say, I want to help, but you don't know how to help. And it's sitting down and going, well, what are my gifts, or kind of not even gifts, what am I good at, or what can I grow on? So I think for me, the master's level, because I struggled again, but it further, my clinical experiences were with a doctor who started off, a physician who started off going to the port in Tampa, because I was in Tampa, Florida, and he would go on the ships, the merchant ships, take care of people, and come off. And that was the epitome. When I thought about what I want to do, I said, I want to be tapped in. And that was just a good example of that. And I had a lot of examples of that. And I was just like, oh, shoot, like I can do what I want and see what I want. And at the doctorate level, I think it just taught me how to speak the academic scholarly language a little bit more, and to be in rooms and places such as like on a board, on an exec board and things of that nature, where you sit down and I say, people, I got professional slang. So I could, slang was the first non-gendered language to me. You know, you call somebody yo or fam, bro had these different meanings, right? So all these things. So I tell people at the doctorate level, I learned a little bit better how to articulate in a scholarly way, but still maintain just who I was.
Yes, yeah. So let's do this. Let's make a similarity that we are both men, of course. And what are men doing in nursing? Explain that. Can you explain what are men doing in nursing that's traditionally was set aside for women?
Man, we are doing every and anything. You know, we are in all spaces. So we are in mother and baby, labor and delivery. If you don't know, we are of course in the ER, critical care. But like me, when I started out, general surgery, med surg. I will say this to the men who are considering nursing, or to men who don't understand why you would get into nursing or the benefit. The profession is mostly women, right? About 80%, we'll say 70 or so, 80%. And one thing you offer, I tell people, we kind of a buffer. You know, we a buffer to like arguments. We a buffer to kind of like, we just provide that male perspective in certain spaces, and we're able to just exist, and people appreciate us because we kind of usually we come in kind of cool, calm, and for me it's like, you know, when things are kind of chaotic, you know, my colleagues or my female counterparts, sometimes they'll look at me and be like, yo, Mike, you look unbothered. And it's not that I'm not bothered. It's just, listen, you know, I just get in where I could fit in, you know? And we also, one of the other things we do, I think, well, or we should be doing, is we highlight the work of our counterpart, our women. Right?
Yes, we do.
You know, most of the time they're in exec and high level positions, and sometimes they need that male voice to support them as well when another fella may be getting out of line, or maybe not respecting just the amount of work that they put into. So it allows us to communicate with them and be like, yo, her credentials is her credentials, bro.
Yes.
Like you gotta remember. You know, so I think it allows us a new capacity to just be like, oh, you know, we got to support. We support our women, and I think in the right way. So the profession of nursing needs men. We are very much needed, not only for muscle but our brains.
Yes,
and just that perspective of just that man perspective. Sometimes it's just the gift and the curse, right? Is like we don't ask questions. So we kind of sometimes will be like, yo, you need it done? All right, cool, I got it.
Yeah.
No questions asked, right? So we sometimes keep things simple.
Yeah,
so.
we do. And one of the things that I've been trying to encourage men, like especially if they're having a moment, a career shift, is just look into nursing for what it is. It's a great career. One of the few careers where you can actually get a job before you even take the NCLEX. You know, they're just waiting on you to pass boards. And I remember my first round at this nursing thing was licensed vocational nurse, and I went from getting out of the military with no income to a year later drawing in about $45,000. I was amazed to see my first check. I was like, wow, this was amazing. So it's definitely, and with the advent of baby boomers retiring, it's the number one field to jump in because there's vacancies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to segue a little bit, and then we're going to talk about men's health. All right. Men's health. Now, last year, I had you come in to talk about prostate cancer awareness. You've done a phenomenal job. And the men that was there also done a phenomenal job with transparency, what they went through. But why do men have fear of going to the doctor to be evaluated?
Man, that's the age old question, right? It's multi-layered. I think to start off with, we gotta get out of that idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If I don't feel it, see it, I don't gotta worry about it. I can ignore it. And then the other piece too is sometimes it's us. When you come see your provider, sometimes you got to give up some of that quote unquote like manhood, and you have to be vulnerable, because part of the visit is a good visit. You can't sit there and be like, yo, I got it. Like you may tell family, but on the back you struggling or you doing this. So we carry a lot on our shoulders, and we do a good job of masking it. But when you come in to see me or you come in to see another provider, the vulnerability is going to be your gift. And a lot of times we're not accustomed to that space, right? Because then you got to say, listen, I don't feel good, right? Because when you say that to family, maybe friends, they worry about you. And then you like, man, I don't want the headache of them worrying about me. So we tend to ignore stuff. But when you come in, you now have to say, hey, I've had this and this going on. What do you think? And as a provider, if I tell you, we do this day in and day out, but somebody who just got diagnosed with diabetes, this is their first time getting diagnosed with diabetes. That's a major, we hear diabetes all the time, but when it comes to you, there's a time that needs to be processed. And that alone is hard sometimes for us to be like, shoot, I didn't do right. I may have lacked or I may have failed in taking care of my health, but I don't see it, so I could ignore it. Right? Let me take care. I'm taking care of family. I'm doing this and that. So it's easier to kind of just put us to the back because we don't see that. We don't see that impact. That cost that we're paying from ignoring our health until later and until it's too late. But it's a cost. I tell people, do you want to waste money? You like throwing away money? Everybody probably say no, but that's what we do when we, as fellas or men, we ignore. We tend to put on the back burner because we always think we got time. We get to it. We'll get to it. But there's too many things to get to that. We tend to miss that. So I think it's so layered. But in essence, I don't want to be down because I think we're in a new environment where, men are talking about their feelings. Men are talking about mental health. Men are actually having more conversations about health in general. So I'm hopeful, and I just every day I get excited seeing just us like expressing some form of interest in anything. Right? There's no silly questions, no silly moments. I'd rather people who ask questions or tell me, I don't believe in that, because that allows me to have a conversation, than you not say nothing at all. So y'all continue talking.
So there's a lot of cultural norms and misconceptions that are out there as far as men's health. And when you deal with the color theory, with people of color, it even gets real crazy, like prostate cancer and also colorectal cancer. I've had arguments with men in the emergency department about colorectal and how they feel violated. And I've used every scenario to let them know that this is a safe route to go. They still, for whatever reason, are like, hey, I'll just die with what I die with, but at least I'll take my, you won't take anything from me, type of thing. So how do you deal with those cultural norms, those misconceptions?
Right. First thing I do, again, I think part of my superpower is that I come from the community. So number one, I leave my ego at the door.
Yeah.
And I don't make anybody feel bad for being who they are or what they come in with, right? Because back in Panama, we took cobweb off the back of the TV, right? Or you could people used to use it as like a Band-Aid type thing. Yeah. and I'm not gonna say Pan, but Caribbean cultures too. There's all these home remedies and all these alternative ways to provide care, which are just as important and they're meaningful to us. So when I have somebody come in, I gotta acknowledge, listen, you probably already went through medical mistrust. I'm pretty sure you saw somebody who you felt like didn't care about you. So I got to show you, I appreciate who you are as a person. So once I do that, for me, my initial step is like, all right, this is what I know as an expertise, right? This is my expertise. We're talking about prostate. Yeah. The DRE is not very fun, right? It's not something, but I want you to know this. What are you comfortable with? Okay. If that's what you're comfortable with, this is where I think a good middle ground would be. You agree? And oftentimes they still might be a little skeptical, like, oh, I don't know about you. Be like, come see me again. And then just building that relationship, because you shouldn't come see me only when you're sick.
Yes.
You should see me when you feel good. That way, when we get to when you're sick or we got to do something like a prostate exam, we have a rapport where it's not me taking anything away from you as a person. So for me, it's that. And I compromise. And then I go, we do it your way. But 3 months, you got to come back to me. And you tell me if it worked. If it didn't work, you got to do it my way. And oftentimes, that has worked. Of course, not perfect, but a lot of times that works because they appreciate the fact that I'm not like, you got to do this or else you're going to die. You got to do this. It's already hard to come in the clinic. I ain't going to make you feel bad for being who you are, believing what you believe in. But I want you to realize that I want you to take care of yourself. And I want you to know that, like, these things are serious and they're happening. You might not know. So once they see that, I feel like I got their ears a little bit more. And then that allows for more conversations, I think. So
the primary things that men suffer from is, number one, is hypertension, which is one of those silent killers. Also, diabetes is another silent killer. We have colorectal cancer, which is another silent killer. And we have prostate cancer, which is, literally we have silent killers that are out there. And I have dealt with people before, and I said, the reason why you got to come in and see me and why we got to get your blood pressure under control, because blood pressure is controlled by kidney. So if that pressure is up, that kidney's damaged. And then if we don't control it, then later on you find yourself at dialysis. So it's making sure that they understand that everything is connected to everything. So with that being said, what are some of your biggest issues when you're dealing with men, especially men of color, as it relates to being compliant with medications?
I think you hit it on the head. I think it's seeing the value. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times if I'm gonna pay this money to come in and see you, I want to feel like I left with something.
Yeah. Yes.
And again, a lot of times, or at least from my experience, a lot of times people don't really understand. They be like, I got a checkup. And then you ask them, well, what does that mean? And they'll go, I don't know. Doctor said everything's good. You don't leave with nothing. So for me, it's really about when you come in, even if your labs are good, or things are good, I feel like it's part of my job to say, listen, your GFR, right, your BUN, your creatinine, these are things that are part of your kidneys. Your LFT, your AST, I know we're using some words, but these are labs, and I say these are part of your liver, right? Your A1C. And when we speak to that silent piece, for me, I'm always like, look, you got a car. You want to drive your car on a bad engine, right? Your heart and your brain are your engine.
Yeah.
And let's say kidneys, liver, spark plugs or something else, because I'm not a mechanic, so now I'm kind of winging it. But I say, think about your car, and think about like how much you spend on gas if your engine ain't right. Think about how inefficient or how hard it is to brake when your tires are bald. Like, think think about just all those things that go into maintaining your car that you don't do, and your car like struggles, and you eating away at gas. And guess what? That costs money. And for me, it's the same, it's the same thing with our health. All the things, the maintenance are so important because it's cheaper, number one. It's more cost effective. And number two, you want your quality of life to be as best as possible, because whether you're on the grind, whether you're the main provider of your family, whether you enjoy sports or whatever it is you want to do in life, sex too is a big one.
Yes, most definitely.
Like, if you wanna enjoy all those things to the fullest potential, then you gotta allow us, or you gotta be proactive in your maintenance. Your maintenance is what's going to keep those things running to where you want it to be for as long as you want it to, barring any major incidents and stuff. But really, those are the things. That's really what our job is, to prevent stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing, because a lot of people come in saying, you gonna give me medicine, you pushing medicine, you pushing this. They tell you, they project all those agendas, and you have to sit there and be like, I never make them feel bad, because I know where you coming from. Like, I know what it is to be a patient, and people. I don't tell people I have a doctorate of nursing practice, and I can see how they treat me. But then when they find out what I do, is, they sit up a little bit better, they communicate a little bit better, they not talking to me so. I already know what you coming from. So while I'm not going to make you feel any worse, at minimum, I want you to feel like, at least I was kind of heard.
Yeah.
Like, you might not agree with what my plan is for you, but at least you can say, he spent time listening to me.
Yes.
So, and I hope that kind of sparks the further engagement of care. So.
Yeah, definitely. This is Rodney Duckett, Dr. Rodney Duckett. You're watching The Lively Art of Conversation, where we live, we learn, and we pass it along. And right now, we're going to stop for commercial.
What's up, y'all? This is Dr. Michael Williams. You're watching The Lively Art of Conversation with Dr. Rodney Duckett. Check it out.
All right, we're back with The Lively Art of Conversation. I'm here with Dr. Williams, and we went over his life growing up in Brooklyn. And then also we talked about, segued into the men's health portion of this. And I want to talk about this event that I had just recently. I talked to a gentleman maybe about 4 months ago, and he came out to the event. And he says, man, I really appreciate the event. Something Dr. Williams said to me that kind of like shook me at my core foundation, and that was having a conversation with my son about my prostate. So let's elaborate on that for a little bit. A lot of times we feel that we should hide what we're going through from our sons and our daughters, not realizing that they too are also that generation that's going to catch it too. So it's our job to keep them educated. He didn't realize how important that education was for his son, so he can make better choices in his health. Would you care to elaborate a little bit more of your theory?
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, because I ain't even know. As you mentioned, you a talker, so I'm a talker too. So I say a lot of stuff throughout the day, or when people bring it back, I'll be like, I said that.
Yeah, you said it, man.
Let me find out. I know a little something, right? So man, that's one of the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest things the past generation from us did that like hindered us a little bit, because our health was kept so quiet, and it was kept tucked, because again, it went back to that, I got to provide for my family, or I got to be this and that. I can't let somebody see me, slacking. I got to be superhero to my kids. And what we did was we didn't help further at least the health legacy part of our family roots, because if our kids know what's down the pipeline, then we could set them up to prevent things. We could set them up to generate better wealth, because when you're more healthy, you have a greater capacity to earn money, to do the things you want to do in life. So for me, is that conversation, if you're uncomfortable with talking about your health, it doesn't have to be a direct conversation where you go, sit down, kids, sit down. Let me tell you what I got going on. Use sports. Players get injured.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Actors Chadwick Boseman, he had colorectal cancer, and then just using that as a time to say, you know what, granddad had prostate cancer too. Or, I did. And, one of the things, especially men, the BRCA gene, which see a lot in breast cancer,
yes.
right? That also increases the men's risk for, colorectal cancer, prostate, all these other things. And it's going, son, grandma had this and that. And they may go, all right, so what'd you have? Or like, what's going on with you? You know what I mean? And sometimes you just be like, listen, I got health issues. Or at the very least, bring them with you to your appointments. A good excuse if they're adult children, just say, hey, you mind giving me a ride to the visit? And if they want to sit outside, you say, no, come inside with me. You see what this is about. And that way we able to break down those barriers. Because a lot of times, too, is just we don't know what to expect from a visit.
Yes.
And we don't know what should be the standard of care. We don't know what we deserve and how we should be treated because we try to avoid that space. So just having them sit there and watching, their provider talk to them is in itself a good exchange. That's how when I was practicing in primary care, that's how I ended up getting a lot of other people because family would refer. They'd be like, they'll come in and see me and they'd be like, man, I enjoyed my time with you. I'm going to bring my son. And then the son comes in and then like, you know what, man, my cousin. And, I've had times where cousins, other family members would be in the visit and they like, yo, I got a question. And I'm like, make an appointment or like, I answer it. So we got to be, and us, I think we got to challenge us to be like your work, what you're doing in the community is a part of that. Because we got to be more accessible to people outside of just the four walls of a clinic.
Yeah, definitely.
So
definitely, a lot of times people are confined to those four walls, but as far as being out in the community, a lot of times people are not out in the community doing the work that they need to do. Let's talk about some pass it along. We're going to kind of get ready to talk about what would you want the next generation to know about. Let's talk about for a young man that's right on the tip of saying, I think I want to do this nursing thing, but I don't know. And then let's also transition from that to talk about, men. What are the top 5 things that they need to ask for when they come into the clinic? But first, let's talk about the young boys and young men that might want to get into the nursing field.
Yeah, I think I would pass along that nursing is a hidden gem. To what you said, I think it's one of the best ways to build wealth. Number one, because a lot of people focus on money. Number 2, I think it's one of the best professions to do meaningful work and also chase whatever hobbies, whatever dreams you have. And I say that to say, at the RN level, if you're in the hospital, right, a full-time shift is 3 days a week. So that leaves you with 4 days to do what you love or do what you want and really kind of dictate the flexibility of your life, because pay is not only important, but also the benefits, right? The time you spend outside of work, all these other things. So that work-life balance that people always talk about, I think nursing allows for the best thing of that, where you get good pay and you work in about 100 days less than a individual who's Monday through Friday because of those 3 days, right? So I think in that sense, flexibility, of course, job security. I think the room for growth, and not only in nursing, but also like you're an example of what you could do outside of nursing that is actually at the core of nursing, because community is at the core of nursing. If you're an artist, you could whatever your art is, nursing supports those things.
Yes.
So I think that's my message to the younger generation is that, please, we need men and you young brothers out there who are on the fence. When you're thinking about that generational wealth, when you're thinking about legacy, all those words we hear, nursing allows for a lot of that. there's a lot of talk on the internet too about like being a boss. I'm gonna be a boss. Man, being a boss is just a title.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
You could be a boss as a nurse, as an RN, and at all these levels because you are able to dictate your life in a way that is fruitful to you. And I think that's the most boss thing ever, right? Like being able to do what you want, how you want to do it. Of course, you can't do everything.
That's true. That's true.
But you really have this window and this wide capacity to do so much that's like, it's all nursing at the end of the day to me. But that speaks to you as a person. And that's hard to find in a lot of professions, a lot of jobs.
Very honest profession too. One of the most respected professions for I think like 30 or 40 years is the nursing profession. I think the only time they lost that was 9/11. So when I think the fire department kind of took over that. So but we quickly got it back.
Yeah.
So let's talk about men's health. Let's go ahead and wrap up with this. What's some of the things that you want to tell men when they go in and talk to their provider, the questions they should ask or the things they should prioritize?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Number one, I will say this. My advice to a lot of men is before you go to your visit, make notes for yourself. Make notes for yourself. I hear the complaints and all the time about, my provider they be in and out. They don't explain stuff. And part of the way to safeguard yourself is make notes. You know what I'm saying? And come in with that, with those notes to your visit.
Okay.
About the things that you think are important, because the provider's going to tell you stuff that they think is important too. Now, the second thing I would say you want to ask, especially in a wellness visit, is why at my age, what are the things that I should be focused on? And I say at my age because it's different, right? At 23 and at 56, the things you're looking for, while some of them overlap, it's a different what. And then the other piece is for me, just saying, okay, what labs are we doing? And then why are we doing them, right? Because the things like you mentioned, all the silent killers.
Yes.
Diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, all these things. I would say don't just take the word of, everything is good, because that doesn't add any layer or any context to what's going on. So ask for your numbers and have somebody in the office make a little note to what it is. Like I said, going back to the conversation, you do blood work. A lot of people do blood work and they just say, my blood work is good. Well, what does that mean? I want y'all to go in, get your blood work. If you need to, you got the portal, but make sure you make note of, all right, what are the liver? What's I'm looking for? What are these numbers? Again, the LFT, ALT, AST. What's the diabetes screening? The hemoglobin A1C, but then also your blood sugar, right, which is part of a larger panel. And the big things that you look for in the wellness overall is going to be your kidneys, your liver, diabetes, heart disease. There's something called a cardiovascular risk assessment that your provider can do. And then I think lastly is what can I improve, or what can I improve on? Okay. You know what I'm saying? And really ask that. Just don't let us go, you good, and then walk out. Leave with something. Like leave with a measure, something that you could quantify, have it there. So that way, as you see your provider each year, you go, okay. Because diabetes don't have it overnight.
No,
right?
It doesn't.
There's an A1C, 5.4. The next year, if it's 5.9 and so forth, you yourself can see, you can track that, and you can ask, hey, what's going on? What can I improve on? So I think those are the important things you should do. But I think taking notes, so that way that room isn't as scary and it's not rushed, and you can sit down and actually have your thoughts being heard.
Yes, and bring a family member.
Yeah.
I tell
Bring a
you, men
family.
be coming in, be forgetting to tell their wives,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I see them in the emergency room, their wives had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now their blood pressure is up because their wife's blood pressure is up. So make sure that your wives or your son or someone that you trust is with you. Hey, Dr. Williams, it's a pleasure, man. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Brother, I love working with you, and I love the work that you guys do with DMPs of color. And you're watching The Lively Art of Conversation. It's all about men's health. It's all about going in and get that pit stop and get those services that's done. You need to come in with somebody. You need to ask the questions. You need to take the notes so that way we can be healthy. So guess what? Next week, we have one of the legends. And when I say legends, a lot of this stuff kind of started with the Lively Art of Conversation based off the Harrison brothers. And although Roscoe Harrison has passed away, his brother, Dr. George Harrison, will be our guest. And if you don't know Dr. George Harrison, this is a legacy history lesson because he was one of the first to ever do that. First on radio here and one of the first weathermen in this area. So again, I'll invite you guys back for the Lively Art of Conversation where we live, we learn, we earn, and we pass it along. Be blessed. Ashe.